this is mostly directed to all the non-JW believers out there, what the Jehovah Witness organization call worldly people, and basically mostly towards parents. If you're married to one who is of the Jehovah Witness faith, and there's an observation that I've sort of compiled here, and I think it's an important point as to how you should, I wouldn't say how you should treat your children, but something to look at and to observe and to sort of take in and maybe help you understand possibly what might be a good approach to handle your kids. And I'm talking about little kids. I would say, from the time they understand, 4-year-olds up to like maybe 13. And in a divided household, in their terms, it would be an unevenly yoked marriage or relationship. And they always have a Bible term for everything. So, and this is an observation that I sort of noticed after watching JW videos, ex-JW community videos for the past 2 to 3 years, and me having somewhat of a, adding a voice to this movement here, because it's really therapeutic for me. But here you will sort of see a compilation of videos from various people, I think 4, that I could find, that I could remember hearing and sort of having a mental note of their experience. These people here also are from a divided household, and they're talking about their non-believing parent as they were growing up, and it's really telling. And I can't do any justice to their story, so I'm gonna have them tell it themselves, and you pick up a pattern as to what they experience, what the parents did or did not do from both sides that sort of made them who they are today, or have the complexity of growing up in that particular environment in a divided household that led to, issues here and there. And in my opinion, I think this observation here of this particular topic is sort of key or something to it that I need to pay attention when dealing with my children around the organization. Like I said, I don't want to stir up the pot of persecution as they would expect from me being an unbeliever. I have to sort of like come from a different angle in things, be just as passive aggressive as the Jehovah Witness spouse, because this is my opinion and my belief that Jehovah Witnesses are the most passive aggressive people out there. Yeah, you sort of have to battle that with your brand of passive aggressiveness to sort of give them a little taste of what they were dishing out all these years in whatever relationship you have with that JW person. And I'm not talking to take it against the person themselves personally. I mean, they can't help it, in my opinion. They're just as much victims as, you are being involved in all this. So you sort of have to circumnavigate that JW brain of theirs and hit deep within the human heart that they possess. Everyone possesses a human heart, figure of speech. So here are the recordings that I was talking about as to, a pattern that you will notice between all of them. Here we go.
Something interesting about my childhood. So my dad stopped being an active Jehovah's Witness in 1975, so several years before I was born. And I was very aware, my earliest memories, very aware that I was in a divided household, even though my father never opposed my mother in taking my brother and I to meetings. He's a very quiet guy, very meek, very humble. And he basically just let my mother raise us as witnesses. And now, one of the gifts of waking up has been a restored, or actually, I don't even know if I would use the word restored, but just a relationship with my dad. And it's been such a gift and a blessing to be able to talk to him, because I remember, especially my 20s and even early 30s, when that article came out in 2011 about why Jerusalem was destroyed in 607, and they had this like very convoluted way of presenting the evidence. I remember I wasn't living in the town my parents were at, but I excitedly called my mom. I'm like, you have to share this article with Dad, because look, it was destroyed in 607 and 1914 is the date when Christ returned, and blah, blah, blah. And like, my dad knew that 607 was not accurate decades ago, but didn't burst our bubble. He let us be in our bubble. So yeah, that was, I don't know, maybe that's noteworthy. But it definitely strained my relationship with my dad, and I saw how it strained my parents' marriage.
A couple people had questioned or asked about was my dad, and my dad never got baptized in the organization. He remained neutral, and he never really said if he believed in the truth or not, or if he just kind of took the sidelines and let my mom, teach what she believed.
As the youngest child, obviously I was born into a family. I was born into a family as the youngest of 4 children. My mother being a Jehovah's Witness and my father not. So we were always made to follow all the Jehovah's Witness rules, go to all the meetings. The agreement my parents had was that my mother would raise us to know the truth, and when we were old enough to decide for ourselves, we could decide for ourselves. We had the freedom of choice, as it were. That freedom of choice came to be a little harder to give to us than I think she thought it would be. But anyway, so we were raised fully as Jehovah's Witnesses. We're pretty close now, but I always was really aware of his intelligence. And my biggest question was like, if he's so intelligent, why can't he just see it? Why can't he see it's the truth? Why doesn't he see it? Like, he's been around it for decades now. How can he not see it? And I think that's what always made me kind of doubt it a little bit. Because if, like, what does he know that I don't know? What does he know that I don't know? So I figured either he was right, that it was all a big joke and it was bullshit. Not that he ever said that out loud, but I could tell that was what he felt about it. Or he'd end up like realizing the truth in the last days and pull a Rahab, as my mother would say. So I was kind of torn between those two thoughts, but having him be around it, having my mother put watchtowers in the bathroom so he can read them while he goes to the bathroom, like as if he ever would, but being surrounded by it, my voice is really messed up today, for decades, and still never taking it, and that paired with the amount of respect I have for him kind of allowed me to have an open mind about things.
You learn that anybody is disposable. There is no natural love. No one is important. And I'll illustrate this from my personal life. My father went through a stage of being less enthusiastic about attending meetings. My mother's reaction was to go without him and to take me, regardless whether I wanted to go. She said that we had to go because Jehovah would come soon and he would slaughter all the evildoers, including my father. Now, this is a man that she went on to spend 50 years with, but she'd be prepared to drop him just like that.
So our family was a first generation, and my mom was really strict and obsessed over the cult. My dad never really took the truth. He just played it safe. He didn't really oppose anything, but he didn't go along with anything. He never got baptized. He never got serious, anything like that. So that means I was born into the JW.
So as you just heard from different people from as far away from another continent, clear across the globe, having the same experience of their non-Jehovah Witness spouse sort of taking a back seat or not getting involved with the children in spiritual matters, and having the believing spouse sort of take over that particular responsibility and run with it with the Jehovah Witness organization. And as you all know, or if you don't, for those people that are not of the Jehovah Witness faith that are possibly looking at this video and trying to figure out, what's going on, with your JW significant other, that the organization is just built for indoctrination. Their whole sort of curriculum, if you will, is around indoctrination and keeping you indoctrinated, and spending all your time in that particular, system. But here, possibly, we could see that we could possibly break the habit or break the cycle of indoctrination by, you as the worldly spouse or an unbeliever, someone other than the Jehovah Witness faith to sort of step in and give your 2 cents worth as far as spiritual matters. For me personally, that's a little bit more difficult because I'm an agnostic. I mean, I have a sit and wait and see sort of posture about the whole thing, and that's just me personally. It's not that I don't believe, it's just, like from people from Wisconsin, you have to show me. That's just, I have no faith. I need more tangible evidence. But with that, I still came to the realization that I have to sit down and do my homework. I have to know the Jehovah Witness doctrine and dogma better than they do, and go back and collect, literature. For one, read a Bible other than the New World's Translation and do, a history of the Bible itself. Find out what all the, versions are comprised of and where did it come from, the Byzantine Empire or Alexandria, like the current, oldest, manuscripts, that's an education all to itself. But I think, in my opinion, you would need to do the homework and get proficient in all those things, Bible verses and especially the New Testament. I think you should start there first. My personal opinion, because there is where you will find sort of contradictory, verses and scripture that goes somewhat 180 degrees from what the Jehovah Witness dogma is trying to teach their members, in turn teach your kids. So you want to be there when your children have questions and that they want answered, and you have to be there to answer those questions and not have the Jehovah Witness, elder or whoever's doing the study on your kids or whatever, answer those questions. Be there to be the Borean to verify what they're saying is in line with what current scripture says in the Bible itself. That is sort of the angle that I'm sort of coming from. First order of things to do for me is to get directly involved with my kids every day, and spurt out encouraging Bible verses to them with, every problems that they come with me, come to me for, be there and have answers. If you don't have the answers, have the Bible handy to sort of look it up. Google is your friend. You put in whatever, search on that, and you say, what does the Bible says about missing Barbies? I'm pretty sure there will be a Bible verse that will pop up to sort of, give you direction on where to take that scripturally. So yeah, I would say have a more active relationship with your kids as far as spiritual means. Even though you may be an atheist, just put that aside and do it for the kids. Become more of a Christian than the Jehovah Witness spouse, and be there for the answers. You may not believe it, but for the kids, set that example and have another avenue of a difference of opinion to go to. That's sort of like the realization that I've come to, and that's where I'm directing my focus now. As far as waking up my wife, I wouldn't say that's dead in the water or no hope. I don't have the skill set to sort of, convince her of anything. She would have to find out for herself the hypocrisy behind the watchtower. And that's on her. So she lived her life. She's, almost middle age. And, that's on her now. I'm focusing on the children now so they won't grow up feeling the same hurt that my wife and her siblings have felt growing up in this organization. That's where I'm coming from, and that's sort of the avenue of approach that I'm going to sort of ease myself into. And a few videos ago, I've sort of had a crisis to where one of my kids' JW friends told him that I'm going to die in Armageddon or something to that effect, because I'm an unbeliever. And at that time, I was, reading the Bible and getting familiar with all the verses and, pretty much the story of it and everything in the gospel. Using Google, I was able to sort of, come up with verses from the Bible directly and sort of set my child's, nerves at ease by relaying to her that, in the Bible says they have different plans for me other than death or sleep or anything like that. So don't you worry, things are under control, and instantly she was okay with it, and this subject never came back up again. So that's sort of proof to me that I may have something here to work with, and that's where I'm going to go with. Okay, just a little bit of hope for all you worldly spouses out there that sort of hit a brick wall like I have, but I sort of found a little wedge in the bricks there to kind of get past that and see if I could do some good here.